Okay, this is the Moviebloop Podcast. This is episode 4, and we just finished watching Uncut Gems. I am Michael.
Jose.
I'm Steven.
Mind. I'm not going anywhere because downtown's gonna catch fire.
And that's
Please don't-
Bryan.
That's
Yeah.
Brian, who's
Brian!
apparently going to be here for this episode.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Hi. As Brian, don't
We
sleep
just-
36 hours, Palmieri.
It
Hell
just
yeah.
started.
And
Oh,
then
I'm glad
Nathaniel, intro
I
yourself.
could catch it. I did have to do something, but due to the rioting near our area, I'm not able to leave the house currently. So
Wow.
The man
Yeah.
will stay.
So,
Thank God.
thank God.
crazy.
Nathaniel.
Finally.
And then Nathaniel.
So I'm locked up type. I hope you guys are too.
That's not what you say. Anyway, Nathaniel, say hi.
Where's my wrench? Okay, I got my wrench.
And I'm Nathaniel.
Oh,
There we go.
Hi, Nathaniel.
That took a
Hello.
long time to intro Nathaniel. Alright, so Steven
Yeah.
had something he wanted to start off with.
Not really. I was just gonna, I don't know, like, talk about like the circumstances at Uncut
Behind-
Gems. Adam Sandler's epic performance, career-defining performance as Howard Ratner, directed by the Safdie brothers, kind of indie boys who I don't know really hit big with this one. Their other movies, while still, I only saw one, but it was very good. But it wasn't a large theatrical release. But this one got a lot of people were talking about it when it came out, and then now it's on Netflix in the top 10 most watched, which is really cool because it's really something different, which I really enjoyed about it. But
it got
that's
a
pretty much all I
92%
didn't have.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, it
This
did.
is how I win, dude.
This is how
Bro.
I win.
So
Oh,
many
A1.
one-liners from this movie, dude. The Sandman did not disappoint.
Sandman.
The Sandman.
Hell
Sandman.
yeah, dude.
So,
was the
I
Okay.
guess we should
You-
start with initial impressions.
Yeah. You can go first since you're at the top.
The
Me?
roll
Am
call.
I at the top? Okay.
Yeah.
The roll call, dude. That's what
Okay,
this section is.
So I'll be honest. I don't really know what I felt about that movie. I don't know if I liked it, to be honest.
Dude, it's
Wow.
Michael's
I'll-
turn at the
Yeah,
hot seat.
for the first time, like I'm the contrary. I don't know if I liked it, to be honest, because it was really like a lot of the movies just fucking weird. Because like there's a
Yes.
lot of movement, there's a lot of talking. I don't know what the like literally the first like half of the movie, like a whole bunch of nothing happened. To be in my
Mhm.
like to be honest, a bunch of fucking nothing happened. We were
Yeah.
like setting up this gem, and then the gem like we see it. Like I understand like why it was called. I think it was a really good choice as like the name of the movie. But I don't know. I really don't know if I liked this movie or not. Maybe dramas just aren't for me, but I don't know. And, like it wasn't a bad movie by any means. I really liked the way it was shot. I just
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know. I really just don't know how I felt about it. I don't.
Wow.
Alright, Brian.
Actually,
Michael?
okay.
Well,
I was gonna say that actually when I watched it first, I was kind of on your boat. I was a little unsure about it, and then after a few days, I was thinking about it, and it just stuck with me so much that I kind of grew to like it.
mhm.
And then
Same.
now after a second rewatch, I love it even more now. There's so
Same.
many like things that you don't pick up on. Like if you watch it through again, that beginning will become a lot more interesting because things you can see where they began and like where the like initial point of like these like plot points came from and
Mhm.
kind of how it all ties together. I don't know if it would like make the movie for you, but I could definitely say that a second watch helped me a lot.
Yeah.
But Brian, your thoughts? First
So I absolutely loved it. It was amazing all the way through, especially kind of like I've seen a lot of Adam Sandler movies where he's like, the comedian, acts, whatever. But with this, he played seriously like a serious kind of delusional guy who's back and forth about everything, constantly lying. Uh, yeah, no, he's obviously a habitual liar throughout the movie, and so it builds him up. He's not a good guy per se.
Mhm.
I expected an ending kind of about the same pace that happened, but that it what I really like about the ending is as it was going one way, the major like for example Howard, main guy, freaking he goes a completely other direction, right?
Mhm.
Like you saw even at like the last zoom in scene, he's smiling and everything, and it's just like okay.
Mm.
So it's like I mean, given this whole thing should be chock full of like spoiler alert. Did we already put that up?
I feel like if you watch a podcast about a movie, I don't know if spoiler alert's necessary.
I
Okay,
don't
Like, I
think
think we
it
have a
is.
spoiler
I'm
alert.
just gonna put it up. Spoiler for like literally the last 5 minutes of the
For the entire
yeah,
movie, spoiler
thing.
alert.
He
Yeah.
Yeah.
literally
Heavy
got
spoiler.
shot. He got shot and died at the end, and like, but he didn't even notice it. He was smiling when he died.
He won.
So it's like he did. He won. This is him. This is me. This is how I win.
Yeah.
Um, but no. So and I do like that scene too, where you guys described the KB
KG.
KG
Kevin Garnett.
Garnett.
Yeah, Kevin Garnett played Kevin Garnett, by the way.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, that was him.
That was funny.
He actually did pretty
you know,
well.
So Kevin
Yeah.
Garnett,
It
was
felt
like,
natural.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest. He was like giving the weirdest face. He was like, "What the frick?"
The Weeknd was himself in that too.
He was.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Also, before we start going off on that, Jose, what do you think? I want to get everyone's.
Oh, true.
Hey guys, I'm back. I'm back at not really liking the movie. Just like in the middle, leaning. I guess leaning. I don't want to say leaning negative, but I'm gonna say leaning negative. But I still thought it was a really good movie. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I'm just leaning negative for reasons that we'll talk about. Like I actually completely my least favorite part of the movie is the editing, which Michael likes. I hate the editing so fucking much,
Hmm.
so much.
The
But
fast-paced cuts kind of thing.
that's one. Yes, I don't like the shots at all. It's just I'm gonna talk about it.
Mm.
Okay.
That's my thoughts.
Okay. Wow.
So Steven, we already know loves it.
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, when Steve was talking about when I first saw it, I was in the same, but I was like in the middle. But the more I thought of it, I was like, oh no, this is actually a really good movie. And then yeah, I'm with Steven. I love it.
My first thought, I don't know. There's something about it that I felt like incomplete. I don't really know
Yeah.
why. But then going back through and like I don't know, looking at it as a character study of just Howard Ratner and just like the way that he's like shaped the world around him and like what he's made for himself. I just thought it was I don't know. It it is complete now that I've given it more thought. Like
It is complete. Yeah.
in a really cool way that I don't know. I already said this movie's different, but like the presentation, the style, the story, it's just so unique. Like no one will ever make an Uncut Gems too. I don't even think that the Safdie brothers probably wouldn't. I hope not, because I don't know. It's just so distinct from like any other movie that came out in 2019. Nothing like this. Not even close. Not like in like I said, style, presentation, whatever. But I just really like how they just threw a curveball and they tried to make something supremely different, and they did.
So would you say this was like your favorite movie last year?
I think I enjoyed The Lighthouse more, but there were things about this that I liked more than The Lighthouse.
I like how I'm just sitting over here like Parasite's just like it's whatever. Like
Parasite was
nothing
really
will
good.
ever top Parasite.
I was
ever.
gonna say
Ever.
Parasite
Not
was
ever.
100% the best movie of last year. in my
Parasite
opinion.
was
It's
the
fair.
last movie of
Dude.
the last decade. Like
That's
Listen,
for me.
That's fair.
we should
But
watch
that's
that movie again.
It's on the list.
It's on the
It is.
list. We'll,
on the
we'll have to
list.
watch it sometime.
I
I'll
will
talk
give
about
a
it when I get
monologue. I
there.
will give the monologue of a lifetime. But I was like, anyway, sorry.
Do we want to go through, I don't know, maybe stuff that we
Um,
liked about it first, and then go with
Did-
bad stuff, or do you want to start
Nathaniel,
with the bad stuff?
did
Or
you
do you have
give your
something to say?
opinion on
He-
it, Nathaniel?
Yeah, he did.
He did. Okay. Actually, in that case, can I go off of something you said, Stephen?
Yeah.
See.
You said view it as a character study, right?
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that you did that because that's what I was doing the entire time. It's
Yeah.
like this is like it literally. He even says it like this is that's like it's his entire movie. It's all about Howard and kind of his motives and everything, and you're following him. And I absolutely love how it did that in displaying such a flawed character in such a an amazing way.
Yeah.
Just because like you see him,
Yeah, really.
he's like he's 1 second he's talking to somebody, and he's like, yeah, hear this, and they literally he looks to somebody else, and someone starts talking to him, and he's like, I don't even know this guy. Like literally, they were just talking,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I found that fascinating. Almost, it seemed almost like he had multiple personalities. Although I don't think he did. I think he was a master swindler, so and a habitual liar. But I love that like you said, view it in like a character study way because that's exactly how I see it. I don't see it as like a some sort of I don't know talk about or it doesn't feel like it has the social if we're talking about Parasite, it doesn't have the social message that Parasite does. But in the same way, I think it is still an amazing film.
Mhm.
Just because what it does almost perfect.
Hmm. Um,
Hmm.
I have like 2 points. I don't know which one to go off of. I guess we can talk about Howard's character a little bit, because it's like at the forefront of the movie.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. It's just really interesting to see a guy who like he has so many chances in this movie
Yeah.
where he has something like really good, like oh you got money, oh you got this like prized possession, oh I don't know, you have this gem, oh KG's gonna buy it from you, like oh my god you have the money to pay back the guy who you owe money to and he's going to kill you, and like at any of these points he could make a decision to stop, but his compulsion to like take it further and gamble and swindle and do more, be more than he is, just like it ruins him towards the end.
Yeah,
Even though he wins, it's like
he does win.
yeah,
He won like 1.2 million.
It's funny because another like example of like how many good options he has to just do anything that will actually make him like happier or better off in the long run.
Mhm.
There's like that moment when he's like in his office or whatever, and he's like bleeding through his nose after he got his ass beat by like Phil and Nico and shit.
Mhm.
And like Julia comes in and they're just like trying to talk out, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And Julia's like, you got me. Hey, we can like work back from this. And then literally the second after that, he's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like this dude cannot just look at the good shit that are like before him. It feels like when Julia was talking to him in that moment, I swear he must have been doing that thing that he does when he stares at the rock, where he's just like not in the room, not paying attention at all, because
Mhm.
it's clear that he just loses every opportunity to turn it around,
Yeah.
especially Julia.
I Nathaniel pointed this out the first time and like its significance, but like when he's on the phone,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, and he's like he's on the phone. He could stop all this right now. He could call her and say, "Hey, come back. We're done. We're good." And then everything would be fine. Everybody would be happy. He'd have more money.
He wouldn't have died.
Arno would have his money. He wouldn't have died. Everybody would have been okay. But he just can't. He like physically can't. It's not that he
Yeah.
doesn't want to. His mind won't let him because of how he is. That's just who he is. He just
Yeah.
takes those risks, which I thought that was a really
And
powerful.
something unsettling is the fact that his son kind of displays the same symptoms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty like you can kind of tell. Like I think what at the end he was like, "That's the guy I sold the ring to." It's like he's starting to get some compulsions of excitement that
yeah.
would make Howard excited.
And early on in the movie too, he talks about how his son even like placed money on the game. Like not a lot, but like
But
how young
Yeah.
is he?
him and
Yeah,
his
It was
when he
It
friends.
was
like
like
Yeah.
left.
it was like $20, but
it was
yeah.
25 and double up would be $50. He's gonna get $50 like at the end of it.
Like
Yeah,
I wouldn't have
he
been
was like
doing that when
little
I was
seed.
that young. That ain't right.
And
That
also
little
his
seed.
son. I like how it kind of shows his younger son like he wants to be his father, or it seems like there's hints of his younger son like wanting he's looking up to his father, and you're like, you might not look up to Howard right now. Like
Yeah.
he's not the best, so it can kind of feel like oh his younger son might end up doing that as well. Like it's kind of
Hmm.
a pattern.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you think he would have paid off the money?
Hell no.
I
Hell,
think I'm with Michael. There's no way he would have paid off the money. He had 1.2 million. You'd be like, I'm putting it back down.
Nah, cause like to me, so like yeah, this movie, like you said, is a character study of just like a gambler. So I knew exactly how this movie was gonna turn out
Same.
because
Mhm.
I've seen this before. Like this happens in other media. If there is a person that is a gambler, they always act like that.
Hmm.
So I don't know. This movie is like so I like it because it like displayed that and you got to see that, but it didn't actually show me anything new. It showed me just a bunch of stuff I already knew because I've
Hmm.
seen other media do it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe that's kind of why this movie isn't that special to me. Like it's a good movie for sure, but
Mhm.
it didn't show me anything new. It didn't give me anything new. It just gave me stuff I've already seen. Cause like I know that like if he actually had won that money and he had won, he'd just go and he'd bet some more because that's how he is. You know. Like this movie did do a really good way of showing you like what someone who's addicted to gambling is like because they are like a lot of people are like that who are addicted to gambling. They like
Hmm.
physically cannot not do it.
Resist.
You
Mhm.
know, they can't resist it. And I don't know. Like it was good because like I like we saw like the very beginning of the movie when I saw him like we saw him like walking around the city pawning off stuff. I was like, oh, he's a gambler. I know exactly how this movie's gonna go.
Mm.
You know, and I don't know,
Yeah.
just because like it's a trope that I've seen in other media, and like it follows because that's how it is in real life. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and so I don't know,
Steven, let me
like we saw the beginning, and I'm like, oh, he's dumb because he's addicted to gambling. This is
the
not gonna go
game.
well. You know,
I do like that Damani got his money.
bro, I fucking hated him.
You
Yeah,
didn't
he was
like
kinda
Damani?
Yeah.
I wish he didn't get his money. I wish
The
he
only
had been
character
killed too. I fucking
I
hated him.
like in this movie is Julia, and
Like
that's it.
literally the only character in
Yeah.
this movie I
No,
liked was
Julia,
Julia. I
Julia
hated
is great.
everyone else.
I
Every,
like
I
father-in-law.
mean, Gooey was cool.
Oh, yeah, he
Yeah,
was a good guy.
yeah,
Who-
Gooey was a good guy,
Oh,
and
Gooey. I
Aaron.
was like,
But they were like, I mean, like major characters. Like
yeah, the main
like
character.
the only major character I liked was Julia.
Hmm.
The rest were assholes. The side characters are different. You know, like
Oh,
trying to remember
Gooey
which
was
character was
fine.
Gooey.
Gooey's the father-in-law.
who
one-
helped
okay,
bid
yeah.
in the auction?
Who helped
Yeah.
Yes.
bid, yeah.
Save him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Steven?
he was a good guy.
Um.
Steven,
One thing. Oh, go ahead.
I want to take you down to the arena, and I hope that this doesn't derail what you were about to say.
No, you're good. I
Let me
can
take you
edit.
down to my arena and
Let's
tell
do
you
it.
that throughout this whole movie, I couldn't help but compare Howard to Walter White from Breaking Bad
Mm.
throughout the whole movie, because I feel like
Yeah.
he's the closest point of comparison from
I
the
see what
shit
you
that I like.
Yeah.
And I feel that's something that Uncut Gems doesn't do, which
Mhm.
is why I fail to sympathize with Howard more. And maybe it's again because it's a movie, it's not a TV show. But
Mhm.
Walter White, you get to see the good shit before the bad stuff.
Mhm.
Like when Uncut Gem starts, Howard's like a dick.
It's literally the opposite. They show you his girlfriend before they show you his family.
Mhm.
Yeah, they show like
Yeah.
all the sleaze first, all the dislikable parts,
Yeah.
and then they're like, maybe he's trying to like, build his relationship with his daughter who hates
Mhm.
him. I'm like, in Breaking Bad, I feel like you can build up the good parts with his family before he's like fully just goes all in with his madness.
It makes it more complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, but with Uncut Gems, I had a lot of most of the movie. I didn't sympathize with him at all until again in his office when he was Julie, and he was like, "Man, I need help. I'm so screwed. What can I do? I'm so screwed."
Yeah, the
And his
part of the
daughter,
movie
and
where you're supposed to feel bad.
yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
what halfway, and I'm just like watching this dude the whole time,
It's
and
actually like
being
yeah,
like,
it's a
"Man,
little over.
what a piece of shit this guy."
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Like
he was definitely a piece of crap.
I like felt bad for him just
Yeah.
cuz like he went through shitty stuff, but I also like it didn't because everything that happened was self-inflicted. Everything that happened was his fault. So like
Yeah.
I felt bad because he was going through tough shit, so like I felt bad for him as a person,
Mhm.
but like from like the perspective of how do we solve this? It's like this is your fucking fault. You need to deal with
Mhm.
this, you know?
Mhm.
It's like
And
he was crying, and the whole time he was crying, I was like, I feel bad because you're crying, but I don't feel bad because this is your fucking fault, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't have to feel bad for that. But I
yeah,
still did, but I shouldn't
to
have to.
to build a little bit on that, in Breaking Bad, he when he makes decisions that you're obviously like, oh man, this is such a fuck up. They're usually like very specific moments of character development where you're like, oh, this is another step into his descent into madness. We're seeing another dimension to this character where we're like, maybe he's not as nice a guy as we thought. Any decision that Adam Sandler makes, or Howard rather, Howard makes in this movie is just another dumb Howard thing to do. It doesn't really add like
Right.
another dimension to his character. It's just another dumb thing that he does, and we're like, all right, here we go again.
Actually,
He's gonna fuck this up.
I think you're so right that every decision that he makes you like him less. Like you see
Right.
Arno and it's like,
Yeah.
wait, they're at the same dinner table? Wait, they're family? And it's like
Mhm.
he's been screwing his family out of money now.
Yeah.
And then it's just stuff like that where it's like this guy is ruining his life, his family's life, everybody's around him life. He doesn't treat anybody right.
Yeah.
I, yeah,
But that's the thing is I think
Because Arno didn't want to hurt him. You could
So-
see.
Yeah, you
yeah,
can see it.
his
Yeah.
family, yeah.
yeah, I went into this movie thinking this guy was a piece of crap, right?
Mhm.
As you
And
should.
like the
I
more
still do.
like it uncovers, I'm like, okay. And Jose, I both agree and disagree with you on the fact that like you show him and you're like, oh, you're supposed to see and try to understand him a little more. I thought, like, going through it, I felt like the point of the movie and of his character is that you're supposed to look at this guy and realize how utterly insane he is from the beginning. It's not his descent into madness. It's our realization that he is already in
Oh, I
so
didn't
so deep that
say
he is gone.
that he was descending. I was saying that the guy in Breaking Bad was, and
Oh,
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
he
that made
Ho-
it more interesting.
yeah, I was gonna say Jose wasn't
okay.
talking about that.
I
Okay,
thought
my bad, my bad.
I
I
thought
thought
the
you were
fact that
saying,
he wasn't descending in this movie, I thought it was less interesting that we didn't like that the whole time he's like the same note. We didn't like see him drop. We see him like in the same note the whole movie. And yeah, it's like insane, so it's like interesting on that way. But it's more interesting when the decisions he does have more weight. So we can literally see each step he like takes going down like the rabbit hole
hmm
rather than it's just a long march towards his literally getting shot in the face.
To me, this isn't like, I don't know. I wouldn't call it like madness per se, because like to me, this
Oh yeah.
movie, the point of this
Or
movie
addiction.
is to highlight, at least to what I got, the whole point of this movie is to highlight how bad a gambling addiction is. And that's what I got from this movie. Because that's why he had all of these problems, is because he had a gambling addiction.
hmm
And so like to me that's what this movie's about. So like madness like is the right word, but also to me feels like an unfair word because he's
Yeah.
addicted, you know. It's not
Mhm.
like he's doing this like on purpose. He's doing it because he's like physically compelled to. So
I,
that's why I like whenever I felt bad for him, that's why I felt bad for him was because of the addiction, because addictions are really hard to fight. But at the same time, I'm like it's still your fault, you know?
Yeah, I meant more like the sense of madness because that's like a typical phrase to use
Yeah,
for these type
yeah,
of things. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, no, I
I
know.
see what you mean.
Yeah.
I, I think one thing that's at least interesting about as the movie progresses is at the beginning it's like, okay, he gave you a ring, you pawned it. You had that, you pawned it. It's
Yeah, I
like,
saw that.
okay,
I was just like,
like
okay.
you're a businessman, like 20K sounds like a lot, but you're selling all this jewelry, I don't know if that's a lot. And then
Mhm.
slowly the stakes get higher and higher to the
Yeah.
point where it's win or lose, and then he kind of gets both. He wins big, and then
Get
Dies.
shot in the
boom.
face.
But
Yeah.
if I may add, I do like I like the character Howard Ratner
Hmm.
because I like how it plays with the plot. Like for example, when you have a protagonist, you're supposed to cheer for the protagonist, and how you guys say you guys feel bad for him, but you're also like you put yourself in this situation. And I remember I was reading something, and they're like, you don't you don't cheer for Howard to get over. You cheer for Howard to get help, to stop what he's
Mm.
doing and
Yeah,
get help. I like how
I
when you
feel
root
that.
for like no, I'm rooting for Howard because he needs to stop what he's doing. And I like how, for
Yeah.
example, when he cries and then Kevin Garnett comes in and they have that whole dialogue like, "This is how I win." You're like, okay, this is the moment. And then I like hearing Bryan, Michael, Jose. I like how they're like, wait, can he pay off Arno right now? And Michael's like, he could legit pay off Arno right now.
You know, he had like
But I
155K
He
in
had
cash or something.
165K. He only owed Arno 100.
and I love the breakdown with Howard and how he talks to Kevin Garnett, and then you see him from like the moment of crying, and like and it's the next day he works himself back into gambling. He's like, they don't understand. They don't understand what we know. It's the gem. The gem's talking to us, and he's like, you know something? You know something? Let's bet. And Kevin Garnett's like, you're crazy. And that's when like the audience is like, no, you could end this right here, and then. Howard once again repeats, repetition. He talks himself into gambling. And I was like, that is such a cool moment in the film.
Yeah,
Kevin
you
Garnett
see
in
his
that
thought process. Go ahead,
I
sorry.
I was
So
like,
it's
Kevin Garnett in that scene to me is like almost more interesting than Howard because you can so vividly. I feel like Kevin Garnett's like a stand-in for the audience because you can so see on his face that he's like, dude, what the fuck
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
absolutely
are
love
you?
that.
100%.
and
Are
I
you
just
I
love
really
love
gonna pull that
that.
website up?
I
Yeah.
just love doing that. He's like, all right, we can do this because they don't understand. They'll never understand. I'm like, oh
He
gosh.
didn't
And he
even want to
Yeah.
bet.
no,
Garnett even
No,
want to bet.
he
Garnett
tries to
didn't.
he tries to bring together Kevin Garnett's like how incredible he is in the game to like something somehow
Oh
like
yeah,
he's just as incredible but in a different
Oh
way,
my
like with
gosh.
money, and
Yeah.
I
like that's
love that.
not that's not a one-to-one
Yeah.
comparison. Like he's an athlete. He's an excellent athlete.
He's an
You
actual
spend
skill.
money
Yeah.
a lot of bad
you
ways
spend
actually.
money.
Yeah.
I, I guess that's just
I,
how he's comparing the high he gets. He's like,
Yeah.
this is my
yeah.
high, that's
Wow.
your high,
I
but
Yeah.
your
love the
high's bad. Your
suspense
high's bad.
all throughout it. I
I,
absolutely loved how suspenseful
yeah.
it was. Like,
We
especially
haven't
at
even
the end. I literally, I had to mute myself, and I was like walking around. I was like, I can't do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude.
We haven't even touched on the fact that this is a thriller through and through.
Guys, contrarianism time.
Okay.
Let's go to the arena.
Wait,
Ding, ding.
let Steven finish his point first.
No, I was just gonna talk about how incredible. I don't know that those cuts that you talked about. I don't know if I love them or not.
Well,
but
I
it is
don't love
fast-paced.
them. I just I was watching it. I'm like, I know this movie's beautifully shot. Like this is like a good this is shot. Like I get why they're doing what they're doing. Like I get
Sure.
why this is filmed in this way.
There were a lot of memorable shots too for me. Like when really quick, Jose, and then I'll go back to you. Like when he's in the closet, I have more to say about this. But when he's in the closet watching his girlfriend, and then he goes out, and then it cuts to like another angle of someone watching them. That was like I don't know, but like watching it this time, I thought it was so cool how it's like. And now we cut to like another person who could be watching it from like another perspective. I don't know if it like had too much depth to it. I just thought it was really nice looking.
See,
just the cut from-
that's the best part of the movie, just because we got to see Julia Fox.
Oh my
Yes.
god, yes.
Yeah,
God.
Okay. Jose,
she
it's
was
your
the
turn.
best part of the entire movie.
I'm not sure if it's fair to say that I hate the editing, but
Mhm.
what I hate more are the instances when the editing's used to create tension, and sometimes I think it's 100% artificial, unless you can prove me otherwise. But I think there are instances in this movie where I'm literally like, I like stop for a second and I'm like, let me watch how the scene plays out and see if there's any point to what's happening on screen. And the one instance that first made me think of this was a scene where Damani and Howard were in the shop with the jewelry, and they were talking about hit the buzzer. And for 1 to 2 minutes, they just talked loudly. That's it. That's all that happened about the fact that someone hit the buzzer, let me out. And they just talk over each other, and they don't finish thoughts, and they just don't do anything besides talk about the fact that you need to hit the buzzer and let me out of here. And I hate how in this movie they create tension or suspense or anxiety just because people are talking over each other. But when you step back, there wasn't really like a real result that emanated from that interaction. It was just a bunch of talking and hyper masculine men just fucking shouting and shit in New York City.
I would say that type of thing though makes
mean-
you uncomfortable though, doesn't it? Like when people are shouting.
I mean,
But it's like I feel like I just think it's cheap.
Okay.
I
If I
just
could-
think
Well, because like Jose's argument is that that scene created tension, but
but it
created
had no
tension
point.
for the sake of creating tension, not
Yeah,
for this,
like,
because
there was-
like that scene didn't actually give like anything to the movie.
right.
Oh, no,
When
it did. It was foreshadowing.
Of
I
what?
was gonna say it sets up the fact that the door's broken on like a plot
Yeah,
sense, which
they
is
literally got locked in
but
it.
but it also I don't know.
for
It kind
1
of
to
is
2
like
minutes
it's
of
like a
just
physical like
that.
representation of how people interact with Howard. Like
But that's
he'll
the
take
whole
something from you,
movie.
he'll lock
That's
you
not a
in.
unique scene.
It's not. You're
But-
right.
And
Yeah.
they've done that type of scene multiple times throughout the movie.
But-
Trapping characters is generally like a sort of motif throughout the movie, but scenes like that in particular, it's like we don't need 1 to 2 minutes of this.
I don't know. I
I see
really
what you
like the
mean.
one or
It was
one or
kinda
2
long.
minutes. It's
No, I
in the
fucking
scenes-
counted that shit.
Dude, you
I was like,
hated that.
I'm actually gonna fucking see how long they do this.
I didn't.
they
I
did, and I
did
was
not.
like,
I
wow.
did not like that scene either. I don't know, because I kind of felt the same way. Like I get they were foreshadowing the door didn't work. That's how they're gonna trap Arno. I get that, but at the same time, that scene was way longer than it needed to be. That scene, I know is people screaming at each other. That scene actually bored the fuck out of me.
And talking over happens
agree.
throughout the movie in general.
Yeah, and
And-
like that happens in general. Like that scene
I
to me
could add-
didn't give anything important. Like it gave one like foreshadowing thing, but it wasn't important enough to like to me it wasn't
Warrant that
important
much.
enough to be worth that much time. I think it took too long.
So I would
That's
actually.
fair.
I understand. Go ahead.
And a counterpoint that I could bring is a good example of tension, which to me is when Howard walks into the auction house and he's having that random scuffle with the lady in the front. It's a scene where people do talk to each other, and it does seem like just kind of out of the nowhere random arguments to bring up. But at the end of the day, they are talking about events that are going to happen in a little bit, and and he's bringing up little details that sort of tell you how obsessed this dude is with literally everything.
Mhm.
And then you get like Gooey and his son come in, and it's like, all right, so now we're having another dimension to this chaotic event that's about to happen. So that's like a scene where you actually see talking over each other and just random sort of like argument and anger, seemingly just like, dude, you don't need to fucking have the scene right now. But it actually does give a little something, which is just how we're trying to fuck shit up at the auction house.
Yeah.
You were trying to say something, I think.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I can understand, but personally for me, I didn't mind people talking over each other in the yelling, but I can understand where it's like it doesn't lead to a point.
No, I didn't mind
I get
that in the movie in general. I just think
Yeah.
that, like, my thing is just that one scene where KG and Damani were locked in the room or locked in the door. I think, like, my only thing is that scene was too long for no reason.
I see what you mean. I actually I was kind of thinking that a little bit, and then it went away. But I already like seen it, so I don't think it was as bad for me.
Yeah.
But it being like the first time, it's like, what am I doing here? I kind of get that.
Yeah,
But
because I was sitting
Actually, I get
there.
that a lot.
I was sitting there during that entire scene, and I was like, "Why is this taking so fucking long?
Mhm.
Just show me how he opens the door and get this scene over with. This is boring."
Hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
hated that scene.
If I could
I,
add,
I really I really love this scene. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
not to change the topics. I was gonna say the idea when you guys were talking about or they are talking to each other. I was gonna say that is one aspect I liked in the movie because it was realistic.
They're New Yorkers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
yeah.
how
But
Howard like
I think
like
no, I think it's played up more than it actually would be.
see. And when I thought
I
it was
have been
more
to New York. It's not like that the whole time, but yeah.
but
I'd say so
reflecting
sorry.
the madness of where Howard's in. And like the scene where like everyone's like he's like yelling at Howard, people are on a phone call and everyone's interrupting each other. I like it because I did feel like it was realistic because I know people that are like that are like they'll scream they'll to keep interrupting each other. So I'm like to me that's extremely realistic and it reminded me of my English teacher. He's like that's life. There's no character that will say his speech and then the next character will say his speech. Brian, you remember Dr. Sam? You know
Yeah.
he says no. People interrupt
He
each
said
other.
people interrupt all the freaking time.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
that's why
Dr. Sam's the G.
yeah, that's why I kind of enjoyed how he was like, you know, if you don't be afraid that people interrupt because that's how life is. People always interrupt each other,
Hmm.
and maybe not to the extent of like screaming like "open the door," but also like I feel like that's some of their characters and how it works. But I was
No,
just saying
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I get that, but
yeah,
because that's in the whole movie, that does not make that scene special.
And the fact
I
that at least as a first time viewer, you sit there and you don't see a point to it. You're just like, okay, so you're just blowing this up for what? It's just all right, more noise.
Cause like I
Mm.
like, cause like that would be like a thing, or like that scene would mean more to me if they hadn't been doing that throughout the entire movie, but they already had been. Literally the first fucking scene of the movie where there's talking, that happens for 5 minutes. There's people
Right.
just
Every scene it
talking
feels
over each
like
other. Like people are
every scene it feels
always
like that.
talking over each other in that movie. So that's why I think that scene just should have been shorter because we already knew that. And we already know like the door, they could have shown it real quick. It didn't have to be that long. I just think that scene was boring and too long. Bryan had liked that scene though, so quickly Bryan, tell
Yes.
us why.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Because
make
you're
this
wrong.
quick. So sure, sure.
You always do
It's
that.
a different angle. So I do think that scene had something meaningful. It bred distrust between KG and Ratner, right?
We already
And
knew
Howard.
that.
And it's like he even mentions it after he gets out. And the reason I like it so long is because the movie itself is meant to make you uncomfortable, which is what I was. I was uncomfortable the entire time. It did the same thing to me here. That happened with the latest Joker movie. Where it's like you feel uncomfortable, and some of the sequences in Joker were drawn out, and to the point where like you start to feel almost physical pain there. Right? For me, I was muted. I think at that point,
I don't know.
but I was like legitimately like shaking. I was like freaking out just because that kind of thing, the way it like draws it out. And one of the guys is like mentioning that he's like claustrophobic and he's like starting to freak out. And then KG is like, what is it with this? You know, he comes back to like see the Rock after this guy's like yelled at him and like tried to get his attention, all this stuff, and the door's broken,
Hmm.
right? And so obviously that's just part of like distrust that KG has for Ratner.
And I
Which
think that's simply because you and I felt differently about the movie. Because
Mhm.
I had
Very
that like,
possibly.
because what you're talking about, I felt that in Joker. In Joker, I had like physical discomfort when I watched it because they dragged out the scenes, and I was like, I loved it, right? But in this
Yeah.
movie, they did the same thing, and most of the time when they did that, I got bored.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I have to say that I am hearing what you're saying. I just think it's not as well done. I'm just like I'm flat
Yeah.
out hearing what you're saying, and
I
I don't think so.
I don't
it's
think
it's
it's
cheap.
I don't think it's
possibly
as well done either.
how invested you are, because it doesn't sound like you were like for me.
I
I
no,
was like through the
I'm not
entire
gonna
movie, I
let
was
you get away
getting
with that
more.
excuse.
No, I
I'm
I
going.
do
I'm directly
I
saying
do.
that this scene is cheap, and regardless, the techniques are not bad. How you feel about it does not impact like my point on this. I don't think how you feel about it, and I don't think the techniques are bad. My argument is that I think it is a cheap scene, and the Kevin Garnett distrust, because this segment of that scene,
Mhm.
that segment, that 1 or 2 minutes, that was part of however long it actually was before they started talking about the buzzer. And you could see with Kevin Garnett that he was already like, "So, dude, you're gonna give me the shit or what?" And it was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, he's not gonna give it." You already seen that distrust like breed in his eyes. But then a little later, when they're trying to leave, then they have like 1 or 2 minutes of that. So the distrust happened before that. The scene before that was okay. It was just that segment and segments like that throughout the movie that you just feel like, okay, so we're just furthering up the tension just to like try to like like a wet rag squeeze as much tension out of the scene as possible.
I mean, that's one way of looking at it. But if you're trying to craft a thriller, you got to look at like every scenario where like you can craft it that way. I can see how it's like unnecessary at that point in your eyes. I don't think
I
that's like a wrong take.
I think because I think it undermines the pace of the movie because it's already fast
That's
paced and
fair.
that's good. But that the fact that that drags out, it sort of tilts it, trips the pace a little bit.
I
I see
think
what
that
you mean.
I
That's
think
fair.
that's
So that's
why
why I think
those yeah.
it's not good when it does hold it out too long because the movie is so concise.
That's
Mm.
why I think that those scenes are weird as well, is because the movie is very fast paced, like it has really fast movement and stuff like that. And so when there's those scenes that drag it out, like instead
It's
of
got to be worth it.
yeah, instead of giving me anxiety or whatever like they're supposed to me they dragged on too long so I got bored. So the one scene that majorly sticks out in my mind is the scene um after Howard caught Julia with the weekend and she walked away from the car and they literally showed you walking her away for a minute. Like I know that was supposed to like give you anxiety, like oh what's gonna happen. I was like, bro, why is this taking so fucking long?
I,
I was like, this
It's funny because I
scene.
like that one.
I
yeah, I
hated
have a
that.
thought on that
That
one,
was no, that was
but I see what
actually
you mean.
like I
I'm
actually
with Michael on that one. I didn't
no,
enjoy
I
it.
I
actually
actually
hate
love
that
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 part
scene. I was like, bro, she's just walking. And
I
then
am.
because
what
that
and
was
what did it lead up to? It literally led up to nothing.
I'm
Her
going
roasting
to
some chick on the
make
sidewalk.
Yeah,
my
which was
little
like what?
argument.
Nothing.
I'm gonna
Literally
make
nothing.
my little argument for that part. Is that that's the point of the movie where I started to care about Julia, because
It's like a
as she
walk of
was,
shame.
because you don't, because no one sees her. Howard doesn't see it. No one else sees it. But when she's alone and no one's watching her, she's like being her true self, and that's is she's tired. She wishes she had gone differently. She's frustrated. She didn't want things to be like that. She, I think, didn't do anything. So she's like, man, what the fuck? This night just sucks, and it could have been okay. And what am I gonna do? And then she just has to deal with all the people on the sidewalk who are being bothers.
And
You kind of just get to see that.
I
Dude,
That's why
she
felt
I like
was
that.
best character
I
though.
felt that at first, but that scene to me took too long. Because at first I got that, I got all those
Okay.
feelings, but then that kept going, and I'm like, why is this still going on? I get it, I
Okay.
fucking get it. Just go to the next scene.
Mhm.
Because that
So the
scene was literally like 2 minutes, 2 whole minutes,
I also
and
think
I'm like, I understood her all of her feelings in five. And then it
Second.
went for 5 seconds. It took me to understand exactly everything she was feeling, and then it went on for 2 minutes.
I think maybe that one's a little bit of a preference.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that one was. Yeah, that one was. I just like. I did not like that scene, and
Uh,
it's weird because I love Julia. That was the only scene I didn't like her in,
that's where I
Julia's
started to like
great.
and
her
that's not even
personally.
her fault. That's the movie. I just didn't like that scene.
Yeah. So I mean, at first I had I mean, going on to like Julia. I think we already touched on her, but
We
like just kind of
stand.
like
We mentioned that she's hot and she's all of our favorite
We
characters.
yeah,
stand.
no, she's best character. But so what I really liked with a different scene with Julia, and I mean, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy her just kind of walking away, and I was like, okay, so she roasted someone on the street, yay. But what I think
Whoa.
was more impactful for her character than that scene, was the scene at the end with the rich guy who is like, yo, like let's hook up, right? or like come to my room or whatever, you know. And she came to his room and he's just like, yo, let's hook up. And she's like, nah, let's just put on the TV. I want to watch the game because I'm really invested in this because my boyfriend is invested in this.
I
Actually,
loved I
little
loved Juliet.
question,
Mhm.
but I feel like maybe you could have like traded that part where she was walking away. I don't know how much, like if I was talking to the director right now, I don't know how much this would change the character developments in the movie. But I feel like you could have like cut that part out, and then when Julia's in the limo at the end, like trying to get back home, just drag that part a little bit because that's after Howard was shot.
Yeah,
So you can have that moment where you look at her and she's like okay, but you know
she's
that
like
she's not
super
gonna be good.
happy.
Yeah,
That was something I really liked
you could have
about the
dragged that part a little
son
bit.
at the end. Was like he was like, my dad did that for that boy. I'm just like, he has no clue. We
Yeah.
know. We
They're
know
all
it's
about to find
coming.
out the dude's dead.
They're all about to find out he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, not only that, his uncle's dead too.
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
His father and his uncle got killed. It was her and her brother. Her kind of ex-husband. She hates him. But then also her brother's dead too. I'm like, all these people who are like celebrating and super happy about these
No,
things
he
is like,
wasn't. Arno was not her brother.
I thought it was.
Arno married into the family.
Oh, did he?
They mentioned
Yes.
that because
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
I
because
just
Gooey, the father-in-law, said that to Howard. He's like, you're not. Well, he didn't marry your daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he married into the family. He's not originally
Okay.
Jewish. That's
I
why
was thinking it
That's
was
they
the.
they mentioned that as well because he said Happy Holidays instead of saying what day it was,
Mhm.
and so that's
Oh, true. Yeah.
yeah. He
Shout out to
wasn't
Arnold.
Jewish, so he married in.
Arnold's just trying to get into the bathroom that one time.
Right? Arno was like, bro, I just need to piss. Can you just
Yeah.
get out of my
It's
way,
like,
please?
it's like fuck you, dickhead. It's
Yeah.
like all right.
I also really liked Arno's character specifically. Like it showed that he did care, even though he's obviously he's a loan shark in it, right? But I don't know. I like that he cares more than the somewhat charismatic main character, who's just a swindler at heart and just like freaking died like that.
Arno literally just
Howard.
wanted his money back.
Yeah,
That's
Arno
all
was
he
just
wanted.
like, dude, I just want the 100K. Okay, and literally at the beginning he's like his henchman. I think
Phil was the
Phil.
asshole.
Yeah, Phil was the one who was like, he's not gonna answer. He's tired of your crap. And,
Mhm.
and I like that because it wasn't like, I mean, given he stripped him down and threw him in the back of his trunk, but like I expected him to kill him or
To
something
ice
like
him.
that. I was really thinking Arno was gonna ice him, but then Arno's like, he was just, I don't know, he seemed redeemable. He seemed like a redeemable character. I wouldn't necessarily say he's like good at heart, but he was redeemable at the end, where he was just like, "Yo, chill, stop," and then the other guy
I don't know.
obviously
You
still
could
killed him.
you could see in his face because they always shot to his face whenever
Hmm.
he did something to Howard, and you could see regret in his face. He did not want to do any of what he did to him, but he's like,
Even in the car.
he's like, this dude is actually a fucking idiot. If I don't, he's not gonna get the message.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk to Howard. Because that's what, like, to me, that's why they showed every scene, like, almost every scene in the movie had people talking over each other, and to me, that was to show that Howard doesn't fucking listen to people.
Yeah.
No,
Selfish, self-centered.
Yeah,
no, he was very.
like he just doesn't listen to people. So,
He was
And Arno
egocentric.
knew that. Arno is like, I have to do this, or you're not gonna fucking listen to me because you already aren't fucking listening to me.
I think it's interesting that the protagonist of this movie is self-centered, basically evil, and doesn't really care about anyone other than himself. And then the villain, the arch nemesis, like kind of in air quotes, I guess if you call him that,
Arno,
like yeah, he kind of like he cares, you know. He doesn't like want to do this. He's like he's regretting like what he has to do, but he realizes like the weight of his actions, like what he has to do. It's just weird that he's like I don't know, more morally right, I guess, than the protagonist. I don't.
Mhm.
It's like a. I don't know.
Would you
Interesting.
say he's the antagonist, or would you say Phil's the antagonist? Because Phil's kind of, first off, Phil's the one that kills him and everything in the end. But also like he's the one who's chasing him down. But the thing is, Phil works for Arno.
Yeah.
that would make
But
Arno
so
the antagonist, and
The
well,
antagonist is
they
gambling.
can there
Ooh.
doesn't have to be like and like they can both be
Right.
They were
Mhm.
both antagonists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be like a the antagonist. Like they just both were. Because the antagonist is simply somebody that is working against the protagonist, which both of them did.
Yeah.
So they're both the antagonist. There doesn't have to be just one.
Do you think Howard
You're a
cares
writer.
for?
You should know that.
Nathaniel, your
Go ahead,
question.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I'm just going to pose a question. If this goes off somewhere else, but I was going to say, do you think Howard cares for his family?
Nope.
I think
I-
so.
I would
Well,
think so.
I think he does, but in his own like fucked up way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think
like
his own.
he
sorry.
does, but his addiction is so strong that he would go against them because of it.
Yeah.
You know?
His work.
He
His
doesn't
work
have his
comes first.
priorities straight.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
his
I
work,
do not.
his work and his addiction come first. So
I don't think the movie demonstrates enough true instances to fully see
yeah,
like that dimension. Like there's never a moment where it's like it's your family or it's the money.
yeah.
So we never get it like up front, so you kind of have to look for it a little bit.
I
They-
There was
disagree
when he
with
was
that.
they
literally
did,
sitting
though.
with his family.
No,
and
they
then
did.
he's on his phone, and then he
He's
gets
on his
up.
phone with
And
his
then
kid. I
literally
think that
when
right
he was
there
supposed to put
shows
his
the-
kid to bed and he was watching the game instead. That's that
Yeah, he was-
moment right
that
there.
was-
Yeah, but
exactly.
that's like towards the start of the movie. I'm saying that maybe towards the end, like what kind of character is he?
His
And
character
also,
didn't
what
change.
example are you
He had-
talking about? Because
He
I
had
can't
no
hear you
change in
guys.
character in the movie.
But yeah, I think you already know who his character is, so there's no reason. You already.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't think so. I don't
This
think
was-
it's that fully.
This was more
like,
like a
all the way
snapshot in the last week and a half or like 2 weeks of the life of Howard.
Because
I
there's
don't
like
think-
that scene where he's like, "Hey, honey, give me another chance," but you're never given like the part where she's like, because she's already given up on the dude.
Yeah.
So she's never like, "Look, this is the issue. Change that," or she never like. Besides just saying that he's the most annoying person ever, she's never like, "This is the reason why this is over."
Mhm.
Is there like a moment like that? Because I don't think there's a
She-
moment
he
besides
cheated.
just.
They said
no,
he cheated with Julia, and that's
cheated
why
with
she broke
Julia.
up with him. They said that.
Or that's why
true.
they were gonna get divorced. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
that's why
also-
they were getting a divorce.
and it's
And
also,
also, like, he didn't, like, he said that he was over Julia after that one night, but he wasn't.
He
Because
wasn't,
he went
that's
back to the apartment so he could see her. There was nothing he needed to get. And then he saw that note that she said she was leaving, and he was upset. He didn't give a
was-
shit.
It was just the fact that he had like lost his girlfriend at that point, like
yeah,
kind
no,
of in
he
his
had
mind. There was
gotten,
like a
he had
rocky.
gotten in a
Yeah.
fight with her. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, she's dead to me, and then he
Wait.
goes to check the apartment. In my mind, I thought that was him making sure that she left. It's like if she's got to be out. That's it.
See, I thought that at first, but then I saw the note, and I'm like, no, he wanted to see
after
her.
his reaction to the note, I think he was.
Because if he had thought she was gone, he would have let his son in.
I thought he was just. I thought he like read that note and he was like flippant about it.
Oh,
Like I
no,
thought he
no,
was
no.
like, "Oh, the note. Well, thank
What
God
he
she's gone."
flipped was
No,
on
he
his
was-
son when
he
his
was
son was like,
upset.
"Is it true?"
No,
there's a
I
hot girl in
didn't
there?"
think he was upset. Like his face like didn't change that much.
Yeah, I thought that he was pretty. He wasn't.
Like
He
maybe
didn't
there's
really
a
want her
pause,
back
but
in his life until the end when he has his breakdown, and then he's like, okay, I need her in my
But
life.
yeah, when he has
Well,
the
no, that's the
breakdown, it
thing is
feels
he
like when
kept-
he actually
He
shows
kept
that.
looking at her on the screen. And generally when you do that, so I mean, given every second of the film is written, right? So they had an intent. They're like, how long do we want this to happen? So obviously he looks back at her like twice. And given you could assume that he sent everybody home because he didn't want to deal with her. But at the same time, when she comes in, he doesn't like throw her. He doesn't like tell her to go away or anything, does
That's
he?
true. No, it's
kind
like
of
a.
he
Mm,
accepts
yeah.
her.
He kind of doesn't want. When she walks in the room, he's like, "Go away, just go, just leave me alone." And then she comes in, and he's like, "Okay."
Mhm.
I
I give
think
up.
it's definitely like a complicated like. He still loves her, but like he's still upset. And that's like an opinion. Like I don't think that that's like definitive how Howard felt.
Yeah.
when did he
Like-
slap the Slurpee in her face? Was
What's
that
up?
after? When did he slap the Slurpee in her face?
That was
That was
Was
when
that
she
before
came
the
to see
breakdown?
him. Yeah, before the breakdown.
Before the freaking got it.
He was on the way to.
And she was like, I rushed, and
Give
he was
the
like, "You didn't
gem.
rush."
Yeah, he
And
was
then
on
he
the
was
way
like,
to
"Get
give
the
the
fuck out of my
gem.
apartment."
He had obvious anger management problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He couldn't manage his own anger.
His emotion blinds him a lot. Yeah. he
Yeah.
really can.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just wish there was like I don't know. For me, I just wanted like one more in the movie where he was given like a more definitive choice because all those sort of traits are implied. But I don't know. Maybe I just wanted that one choice where he actually had to
Between
like
the family.
choose. Well, he had to like not just give in to what he was, but like choose that was what he was.
Yeah, and to me, he did that. To at least for me, he did that the entire movie. That was
Yeah,
the
it
whole
it was
fucking
just
movie
more in the
to me.
background, like subtle. It was,
Yeah, it
wasn't,
was
like,
just more
super big.
subtle. Yeah,
I think I'm
Yeah,
more
but
on that boat.
but
I'm
to
like,
me, he
I-
did it the whole time.
yeah, I'm like I vibe with that, but I just wanted to display him choosing. That's the kind of person he was.
That's too direct for this movie. This movie wouldn't
No,
do
I don't
that.
think that's the whole cause
It's bad
It's so
writing,
hard to
Jose.
convey what I don't think so. This heck, Breaking Bad does this. I kept comparing this to Breaking Bad.
Well, stop
It's
doing
like
that.
no,
Yeah,
because
we'll
that's I
watch
like
a
Breaking Bad
Breaking
more
I,
than
Bad
this.
I haven't seen Breaking Bad.
I
Isn't it
haven't.
also
I haven't either.
you see his
I'm
progression?
familiar with the ending and like the whole show and everything.
Like all
And,
I'm
like,
saying is
first
that
parts, but
in the
Nathaniel
same
got
movie,
interrupted.
I've not seen it. Sorry about
It's,
that.
I was gonna say, isn't it kind of different? Because isn't like Walter White, you see the progression where
Where
like
he
you
was
see his progression,
cohesive.
but this is more like, oh, Howard probably already had the decision.
Yeah,
That's why
I don't
like
know.
I
Like,
like how every
yeah,
sidekick. I
like
like
no,
how
it's more
you're
like
at
you're
the
trying to
beginning.
compare them, but to me they're too different.
but
I
no.
think it's just a different setup for a
I don't think
story,
it's look
and you don't like
okay.
it.
It's not the actual characters. It's just like the technique of showing the story. Like in this
Hmm.
movie, we already see that he chooses moments where he just keeps going with his gambling when he could have. I just wanted a moment where he just chose to keep being a piece of shit with his family.
Okay. And
Like
I
we
can
already see
definitely
that.
understand
Like
that.
we
At that
already
point.
know that he's gonna do that. But I just want him to like also
Hmm.
it's not about like oh it was too subtle. I want it to be more direct. I'm like no, with the gambling addiction, you saw him make the choice to keep fucking it up, and with his social and personal life, I also wanted to see him keep making those choices and fucking it up. And
Okay.
that was just one part where I was like, show me the fucking up again.
Yeah,
well,
I can understand
I
that.
like
But
yeah,
everything's still
I don't
perfect.
know. I guess I get that, but to me, because it was implied, I feel like it would have been redundant. But I do get that though.
if I
Yeah,
can,
that's
I
fine.
feel like it wasn't necessary.
I feel the same
Yeah,
way.
it's just a preference because I don't think it's actually like a flaw at all.
No, I can understand that.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I was gonna if I could add
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, it's all good. But the point I was getting to was basically what was I gonna say now? Oh yeah. So for me, one thing I liked is how the every other character that deals with Howard, you can tell they're exhausted, and knowing
Yeah.
Howard is exhausted, and that's why for me, like personally for me, that's why I feel like he made that decision so many years ago
Yeah.
that they're all
Yeah.
exhausted. So like we don't got to see it. They're all like whatever. We
Yeah.
know Howard.
Yeah.
He's not because when I first saw the movie, it's funny because I was like, why don't they just like everyone just needs like why everyone just I had the same problem. Everyone just screaming over each other. But then the second time, the more I thought it, I'm like, yeah, that's just like how Howard, that's
Yeah.
how Howard is, and it's
That's
so exhausting being with Howard
Mhm.
that like the decision of him choosing one thing probably already happened years ago. And like Brian said,
Mm.
we're this one moment. We're looking at the final hours of
Of
Howard.
Howard.
Howard
Yeah.
Ratner's life.
Right.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
the last like 2 weeks. I think.
Like week maybe. Yeah.
It was a
Like
week.
I
Yeah,
think it was like a little over a week.
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
Huh.
it was like 4 days
Yeah.
because he gave the ring Friday and he came back Monday, so probably like a little over a week for.
Yeah, but then he turned in the Rock Friday. No, no. Okay, it was like a week and a half because
Is this important?
This
no,
is not
it's
The
really
important.
not.
timeline.
This
It
is not
doesn't
important.
matter.
2012.
Okay.
Yeah, it's valid.
It's
You could
it's
tell with his wife that she's long since given up on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably did
Yeah,
have
no,
decisions
she.
like that over the
Yeah.
years already.
Oh,
Yeah.
if I can add, the dinner scene was so cool with the daughter and the wife. Like you can tell they both just given up on Howard.
Yeah.
Howard's like talking to himself, and daughter's still like talking. And then I also like how Howard's like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, "Jessica." And he's like, "Hey, Jessica," kind of showing like, "Yeah, Howard probably knew Jessica." And she's like, "No,
Mm.
no one." And she was like, "She can't even hear you." And he's like, okay." And I like that. I like how they give like without saying it, they have a history. All these characters have a certain history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I felt like it all had already been done. I feel like it happened already.
That's fair.
Um. There's one moment that I don't know. Since this movie's so fast and everything happens so fast, I don't think. And like this scene is so like large in of itself that I don't think this detail you'd pick up on.
So much happened.
Big brain time.
When
The
when
first half
K
is a blur.
when KG, that's yes, but that's because this is your first watch, which isn't good, but I don't know. When KG at the end is talking to Howard and Howard's doing his "this is how I win" thing,
Yeah.
he's like, "How much you pay Ethiopian
How much did you?
miner for that?"
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
really cool little
And,
segment. I
yeah,
Yeah,
and
love
then
that.
he's like 100,000, and then he's like 100,000 for $1 million. You think that's fair? And like in
Yeah.
that moment, they don't touch on it really at all. I don't know, like greed is an obvious like overarching theme,
Mhm.
but like this is
But
kind it's
it was his rationalization of his greed.
sure,
Is that what you're
sure,
talking about?
No,
but
it's not.
also
Let
I
him
mean
continue.
it's it's kind of I was thinking about this the second time because I didn't see I like noticed this at all the first time, but I don't know. I kind of related it back to the idea of like blood diamonds and about how like all these like white people get like these things that like literally like people like have to kill over in these mines for their like livelihood, and
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
because it's
They
still the
get
movie.
yeah, they get completely like cut like the raw end of the stick for this, and then like white people just sell it for like 500 times the price.
It
Yeah.
always goes back to the white people, doesn't it, Steven?
Yes, it
It
does.
does.
But
It really does.
Colonization being there.
maybe
Well,
more
because that
Westerners, I guess.
to
But
me
yeah,
that's what KG was trying to get at.
exactly. That's what he's like trying to like. Is this
No,
really
that's
okay with
exactly
you?
what he was trying to get at.
Is this something that you're okay with? He's like, this is how I win. It's like, oh, you
And,
win by ripping other people off. Like you're
Yeah,
not,
no,
you don't care.
he's a freaking swindler through and through, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Which makes sense why Phil shot him because Phil's been dealing with his crap for like at least the last week,
Well,
right?
Phil
He's
was
seen
also
all this
just
crap.
Phil was
No,
also just a violent asshole.
yes,
He
yes,
got
he was.
fucked up.
That
But
he was
he also let his emotions get the best of him, but he
and
has
then he
always
shot
resorted
Arno,
to
and I was just like,
violence.
really?
Unnecessary. Yeah.
I actually, I think, I don't think I like that part. I think that part was something I was upset at
I knew it
in the
was gonna
movie. But
happen.
yeah, I knew Phil was gonna kill Arno too, but I was hoping Arno would like get out and run away.
Hmm.
No, because
And
you have
then
to
Phil
buzz
would
two
just like not
doors,
care. Yeah.
Yeah.
and the
Um.
inner one you can't buzz yourself out of, or the outer
Yeah,
one.
I really, I didn't like that part. I think they should have let Phil kill Howard, and then leave it at that. And then Arno's just like, "You're done. You're fired. I'm done." He's like, "Okay, fired." And he like looks at his friend. He's like, "Let's get everything in the store." I thought
t-
that would have been like a cooler
Ye-
thing.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Um. To go off from
Um,
my previous point, I don't know. I don't think like Howard works in the Diamond District where there are all these like very expensive like
mhm.
jewelry shops, and I don't know if there's too much different between Howard and anybody else who like works out there at the top level at least. Obviously, the guy who worked for him was like a good guy. She's like, Howard, you don't care about me,
Yeah.
and then he left. But like the people like higher up, it's like this is what they do. They do the same thing as him. They're just like they don't mess up like he does. They know when they're like to cut their losses. They don't like gamble all their money. They just do it smarter.
Hmm.
Which I don't know. It's just because he was so like I don't know
can I
the way he is that we saw his downfall. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when you're talking about Kevin Garnett and Howard Ratner's when they're talking to each other,
Hmm.
is I feel like that line, like "This is how I win." The reason I was thinking more, and I'm like, why does this feel like such a cool line? I think like in movies, the protagonist, usually when everything seems down, the protagonist has that giant speech to elevate people.
Hmm.
And maybe I'm looking too into it, but like this is Howard Ratner's like Captain America speech to be like, no, we can do this, but you're not supposed to agree with him. You're like, no. So I like how they kind of toy with the a certain like heroic speech. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, this is kind of like his motivation speech, but it's also the wrong message that you're not supposed to
Oh,
agree with.
it was
Yeah.
completely the wrong message.
Yeah. I had one more really cool thing I want to talk about. Dude, the weekend concert when the black light comes on
Yeah,
though and the lights and he's wearing like a pink shirt, right?
yeah.
So in your mind it's like, "Oh, it's like a flamingo effect kind of thing. He's sticking out of this crowd." And the black lights come on and he's just blue like everyone else. And then I don't remember his name started with a D, but the
Dem-
guy he was looking for in the orange
Demani.
jacket,
Demonte.
Demani.
Demont Demani, the way that
Demon-
he like stands out and then like the orange glow. There are shots where you can just see Howard and you can see the orange glow like on him.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It was just so pretty and cool. And it was only for like a second and I don't know. It didn't like wasn't like an overall thing in the movie that lighting. I just thought it was a really pretty scene and I liked it a
One thing
lot.
I kind of that they didn't touch on is what's his name, Priceless or something, or
Flawless.
Flawless. Flawless, yeah. I kind of wish they'd gone more into depth with that because you could tell. Okay, so first off, you got all these people hounding Howard, right?
Mhm.
And then you've got this one guy, Flawless, who's like obviously he's connected with the weekend because he had his freaking his his uh his
Performance at
little
the venue.
charm thing.
Oh.
Yeah, or I think he's connected with the weekend because he gets him in, right?
Mhm.
But then like he's like, "Yo, hey, where's my thing?" He's like, "Yeah, I got you." And then he goes there, and he's like, "Yeah, don't let that guy in." And then he kind of goes away, like he's not the guy hounding. And you can see it just shows that Howard is just a bad person there too, where it's like
Using
you've got all these people who are like they're gangsters and stuff like that, constantly hounding him and hunting him down and yelling at him and like freaking stripping him and shooting him, stuff like that, right? And then
Mhm.
you've got this one guy who's like being kind of passive about it. He's like, oh, where's my stuff? I trust this guy to sell my thing and this, that, and the other. And he's just a good, normal, everyday guy. And you see him in two instances, and Howard just completely disregards him in both instances. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, it's just kind of another little block to show that Howard is just a bad person.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I thought that was cool, but I kind of wish I had seen more of him, just because I wanted to
I see what
see
you mean.
his Howard's interaction with somebody who's not completely a violent a hole,
Mhm.
or a violent piece of crap, really.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I guess the statement there is just that those people just give up. They just walk away
Yeah,
because
he
there's
just
really nothing they can do.
to me
Yeah.
like that. He just like I know what he does when there's someone that doesn't hound him for it all the time. He just fucking walks all over them.
Yeah.
They showed that. I don't know. I feel like if there was any more of Flawless, like they mentioned him 3 times in the movie. Once in like the beginning, because the Michael Jackson cross was his, and
Hmm.
then you saw him, and then you saw him again. And I honestly had forgotten about. I don't know. He wasn't an important character to me, so I didn't care. I didn't give a shit because I already knew he was just gonna walk all over him.
Mhm.
So to me, I didn't care, but I get it.
By the way, guys, Uncut Gems is labeled dark comedy.
Yeah, that's a thought I had.
That's interesting.
Huh.
Because I thought there were plenty of moments throughout the movie where I was like, this is kind of fucking hilarious. Like when in the weekend party, he's being dragged out, and Julie's just screaming, Howard, and he's literally being dragged by security, like he's surfing through a crowd, and he's literally like, "Fuck you, Julia,"
Yeah.
and
It's
I'm
so
like,
like
"This is
absurd that you
hilarious."
just like laugh and then you're like, oh, this is kind of sad.
Yeah, and
And
there's
there's a
shit
lot of
like that.
points like that. Like when he's like in the trunk and he's naked, it's like, oh my god, and you're like, oh my
That was funny. He
god.
pops up and
The-
he's like, "I'm okay. Thanks for opening the car for me."
And she just
Also,
like turns around.
the part where the main puts what drink in the fish just kills the fish,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
Howard's like, "What the fuck? Why'd you kill my fish, bro?"
Yeah, Damani freaking
Yeah.
killed the fish.
Give me a cup. Give me a cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, "What the fuck? Why'd you kill my fish?"
The
I feel
classic.
like he was more concerned about his fish than his youngest child,
Honestly.
Oh,
honestly.
Him laughing about he's gonna come. I mean, come on. He's like, oh my god. I'm
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think
that
that's
was going
actually
nowhere,
the
but
only time in the movie I laughed.
I
what the fuck?
I had so to go off of that point, the like I don't know, the like funny bits. This isn't a one-to-one comparison at all, but to me, oh, I guess not really to the comedy aspect, but I compare the story kind of to like a Scarface where it's a villain. This is a bad person who like kind of makes it he's hustling, he's doing his thing, and you want to
Mhm.
root for him, but this was like what if Tony Montana had no redeeming qualities? He wasn't like a poor guy from Cuba making it up in the world. What if he was just a jerk trying to make money and be successful? And like the hustling's like, yeah, you want to see him like make money, but also like you want more for him to like no, like get your stuff together, like be a good person. Like don't do this to yourself. I don't know. I think it's an interesting story to tell of like a bad guy who doesn't redeem himself. It's a bad guy who the towards the end it's like how can we help? How do you help yourself? Like how do you
Mhm.
get help? How
No,
does
there
this
was no
story
help
end?
for
What
him,
happens
dude.
to you?
There was no. That's
And
why I
by the end,
predicted that
yeah,
he was gonna die at the end.
yeah,
Although I thought he was gonna lose the money and then die like unhappy. I
hmm
thought that's what was gonna happen, but
yeah.
that
You're
that
so
was that was the
confident.
cool twist of the ending. I thought that was really cool.
You
You
know,
you thought that was a twist?
Well, the fact that he won, yeah,
I
I
knew
didn't
he
think
was
he was
gonna
gonna
win.
win. I
speak,
really didn't think he was
I
gonna
didn't
win.
think it was like that in stone for me, but I thought it'd be the better.
I
I don't know.
love the
Really?
moment
The
when
movie ended pretty much how I thought it would.
I love the moment when they win and the
I mean, you're
music
good at
comes up
predicting shit.
and then there's that like the level of like the music is kind of like euphoric and you kind of like feel the same way as he is like relief and also like you're excited he just won all this money and like bam smash cut into him like walking in and getting shot the camera pans up to his like body and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, what I
you're
like
just
about
as
it is
interrupted
it's
as
still
he is.
playing.
Yeah exactly they
No,
don't
that
just
was
cut it
that
off.
was the kind of unsettling part was the happy music doesn't continue. They're like, keep the happy music going through the main character literally just got shot and killed.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Honestly,
heavens.
he kind of got what he wanted, and I don't know if he was
Got
like
the
up in heaven or hell or wherever. He had what he wanted. Like it's still
Yeah.
there. He's still accomplished what he
Because
wanted,
all he
Yeah,
wanted was to
strong
win.
cat.
and he got
He
it.
didn't even like care about the money. He just wanted to win.
I think it's the rush too. He just got the
Mm.
he just loves
Yeah,
the rush.
that's what I was
Yeah.
saying. I think he does it for the thrill.
Yeah.
But
No,
all-
Yeah, I think
that's
there's
that's the addiction he has.
Yeah.
there's like a part when he's like sitting, I think, and watching the Celtics game where like Arnold's just like flat out staring at him like at the very start,
Hmm.
and he's just watching him, and you can just sort of like take that moment where you're like, Jesus, this dude just lives for this type of shit. Where he's like, Am I gonna win?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett got the tip off at the beginning. He was like, Ha ha! He's like,
Yeah.
Wow, that's who he is.
Yeah, and then when he started losing, you could hear him like kind of do the piece of crap, blah 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 blah, stuff like
Hit
that,
the
right?
TV.
One of my favorite moments is when I kind of mentioned this earlier. Is when he's like in the closet and he's watching Julia, and you guys picked up on it like right away. It's
We
like,
all
why don't
like
you just
that
walk
moment.
out there? And it's like, this is who Howard is. He doesn't
He
just
wants to
take a
feel
good
better.
thing at face value. He waits. He takes it in.
He lets
He
it like
does.
marinate, sort
Yeah,
of, in a
and
weird sense. Yeah.
he takes, I don't know, risks, but he doesn't just take a good thing like when he has it. He doesn't. That's not him. That's not who he is.
He's
And like you guys
gambling.
immediately like noticed that and like verbalized. And I was like, well, they get it. They
Like
understand.
how he gambles with his family too.
Yeah.
Like just gamble everything, every element in his life he gambles. And the ending, how you guys like, yeah, I like how you like added the happy music. I also like to thank I like to thank Arno for making it seem like it's going to be a happy ending because Arno's supposed to be like the big boss.
He was relieved when he saw
He
them
was
win.
he was
He's like, oh
smiling.
my god, he did it. Yeah.
Expect Arno to come out and be like, all right, you're free. But no, like that's how it once again, throws a wrench into the whole thing.
Dude, when Phil pulled out that gun before the game started, I was like, this is a big Chekhov's gun
Yep.
moment where it's
Yeah,
like
that's how I knew he was
they
gonna kill
introduced
him
that.
because they
Yeah.
introduced
They
the gun.
introduced that gun. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chekhov's nodding right now, like hell yeah.
big brain.
Oh, Speaking of
Um,
twists,
Yeah.
sorry, Steve.
no, I was thinking. You go ahead. Sorry.
Speaking of twists, I like how they subverted the expectation of the classic movie where the the protagonist, gets checked for cancer or his colon, and
Oh yeah, he was fucking fine.
Yeah,
makes
no, I saw that and I was like,
Oh.
so what was the point
forget
of
in
that then?
the movie the doctor calls, and that's usually when the doctor's like, "You have cancer," and that's usually
And
like
then
when
starts
characters
changing.
stop. Yeah, it's like changing all the like the Monty would stop, but no, he's like, "No, you're fine, Howard. You're straight." And the Monty's
Yeah,
like, "Fish." It's like,
That
what?
was,
That even-
that was confusing to me.
That even might be like a
It's-
humbling moment for him. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. But he doesn't have that. It's just like, oh, I'm
It's-
good. I can just keep doing what
Yeah,
I do.
he was
Great.
like,
Yeah.
it was in the family.
Mhm.
I thought about that and I was like, did they produce that whole second scene just to sum up the opening sequence of them being in his butthole? Like,
Oh my god.
I don't.
Which is
I think
like,
I think
That
think
speaks
I'm with.
volumes as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm with Nathaniel on that, where it's just that scene
it
was meant.
for subversion.
That scene was meant to be a debate.
Yeah.
That was
Debate,
Yeah, me
that
too.
was it was meant. That scene was completely meant to trick you, because usually in these kind of movies, it's like that.
Yeah,
you know.
obviously they bring in something
Like-
some life threatening, and that's when he's like, "Oh, I gotta change my ways." But no,
Yeah.
because he could have got like they're like, "You have cancer," and then he's like, "You know something? I got cancer. I'm going to die anyway. I'm going to bet it all big." No, he's fine, but he still bet it all big because that's who he is.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Him and his
Yeah, it makes,
frickin'
like-
his goatee. Oh,
goat. Sort of makes that further point that it's like sometimes in like real life people who you're like, man, they have it coming. Sometimes like they literally, it's like their real shit, like a tragedy or their own health isn't what bring them down. It's like ultimately you just have to hope that they fuck up enough times to where like their own karma comes back to them. Because sometimes it's like they're not. Sometimes the bad guy isn't the one who gets the cancer. Sometimes it's like, oh no, he's fine, he's good. He's gonna keep being bad now, because you know.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I had a point about their last movie. The movie before this, I've talked about it several times to
You've
everyone
the
here.
mentioned
It's
it.
Safdie brothers.
the Safdie brothers.
Safdie.
It's called
Safdie.
Good Time. It's called Good Time, and it's a thriller like this one, but it's a totally different protagonist. And I think the difference between this one or Uncut Gems and Good Time primarily is that the main character has like justifications to his character, and there are reasons. It isn't. It's
It's Robert
you might be able to,
Patterson, right?
it is Robert Pattinson. You could call it a character
Wait, what
study,
is
kind
it?
of in the
Patterson?
same
Pattinson?
Pattinson. I don't
Yeah,
care.
it's Pattinson. It's Pattinson.
You
My
could call
bad.
it a character study in the same way, except there's like a justification to this character. There are reasons why he does what he does. In this movie, it's just the way he is. But in the other one, there's like real world like reasons why he has to, and I could see you liking that one more because of that, and you're more invested. Um, just a thought. I like that movie a lot too. I don't know which one I like better. I think that one's more suspenseful to me.
It also got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes
I,
with an
that
80% on Metacritic.
that one's incredible. I don't know which one I like more. I think this one's like flashier. Um, but I don't know. I think they're both really good movies, really well presented. Um, and yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, I'd like to apologize formally for my cat going off in the background.
You mentioning it just now is the
Shady.
only time I heard it.
Yeah, it was the first
Oh,
time.
good. I've been muting myself to try to avoid his cries of wanting to leave my room but not being allowed to.
Mhm.
So I would love to let him out, but he gets in fights with the other cat. So yeah.
Michael, Jose, y'all got any more things y'all would like to?
I don't know. Probably just that, like, I don't know. Like, this is like a well shot movie. Like, it's a good movie for sure. I just don't think I liked it that much.
I understand. Yes.
I don't know. It might just be because you guys hyped it up a lot, and I ended up being not
that makes
liking
sense.
it as much as you guys liked it. So that sucks because I wanted to like it.
Sorry about
I
that.
just didn't.
Now, don't worry, guys. Your hype doesn't never changes my opinion because I'm
That's good.
infamous for being the opposite opinion.
Well,
on
I wanted to
things.
see it because you and Nathaniel really like it. It didn't affect how I actually enjoyed the movie. It's just why I really wanted to watch it.
Right,
And I
expect-
don't know, after watching it, I don't like it nearly as much as you two did. I don't really even know
Sorry
if
to-
I really don't even know if I liked it.
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe in a few days or like a little bit later you'll talk to me and I'll like it a little more, but right now I don't know. It was okay. I didn't really like it that much though. It didn't really bring me anything new. It didn't excite me in like any way. I don't know. I just
If
didn't
I
really
had
like
to
it that
give it a
much.
score, I'd give it like a 7.5, 7.5.
I'd probably give it about the same thing.
I think that's a fair
I think
evaluation for
I
someone
would
who didn't
hit
like it.
probably, I don't know, like a 9.1 maybe. 9.1,
Oh boy,
9.2.
Yeah,
let's not.
I give it a
let's
It's
nine
not
not
out of
my
be
10.
it's not my
intense.
favorite just
don't-
because
Let's not.
I don't do
obviously
decimals.
it's suspense and I don't deal well. I enjoyed it about as much as I did Black Klansman. Actually, I think I enjoyed Black Klansman a little more. But they're very similar in the
Is that
sense
on
that
the list?
it might be. I don't know.
Probably.
I hopefully it's on the list.
I did not put it on
It's
the
a
list.
really good movie, and now that I know what's gonna happen, I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed that one more just because, uh, given it's not about a piece of crap.
Mm.
I don't know, but it for me it's in the same ballpark because they both have very suspenseful moments. But that one's more like obviously it's based on a true story and everything. But this would hit like my top 20. I would say at least my top 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think it's my 50.
Like I said, it's a good movie. I just didn't like it that much. What were you gonna say,
That's
Like,
Nathaniel?
fair. I see what you mean.
I was just gonna say, random thought. I like the use of the MacGuffin by The Rock. I like how they use. Or would you
Oh,
guys just say
oh,
The
how
Rock's a Mac-
the Rock was supposed to be like
Oh,
his
The
savior.
Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
would you
The
say
Rock was just in there for whatchamacallit. Yeah.
because a MacGuffin is an object or device in a movie or a book that serves merely as a trigger for the plot. Like it's not important, but it's the motivation behind the characters in the plot.
It's literally like freaking KG wants it because it makes him win games, and it showed like he won games, and he started talking about his rock to the people.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
then they're all like, "Oh, he's talking about the ball," and he's like, "No, I have a physical rock at home, and it brings me power."
it's
And he's
actually in my
like,
locker right now.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like, what
yeah.
the fuck?
Because a MacGuffin is an object, device, or an event that is necessary to the plot and motivation of characters, but insignificant, unimportant, or irrelevant in itself.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, no, like
I
it,
guess
it
that. Yeah.
wasn't.
I
Symbolism.
don't.
Wasn't
I think it
So-
was important. You know, like in some
Yeah.
way, I still think it was important.
What?
But
Do you guys remember
I
what
don't
type
know.
of rock the rock was? It was like
It was
topaz or
it was a
something.
black
It's
opal.
black opal.
This where
Okay.
briefcase in Pulp Fiction is a MacGuffin. That's known to be a MacGuffin.
Oh yeah, that's such a good.
I
Or the
haven't
holy
seen that.
hand
I
grenade.
haven't seen that
Symbolic,
movie,
though.
so I don't know.
Um.
It's on the list.
Okay. Final point. What if the uncut gem all along was Howard Ratner?
That was my
Um,
final. Dude, yeah.
and he's extremely rough around the edges and not worth as much as you think, but he's really talented and good at what he does, even though his character doesn't make up for it in the long run.
He's truly a good man at heart.
No,
I
No.
don't I wouldn't say that. I just
No.
think that
Don't
he's
bite.
talented.
He's not a good man at heart.
He's
just-
talented at what he does. He just is bad, and he does it for the wrong reasons.
What does he
and
He's
do?
a
doesn't have
good rock
priorities.
for what type of rock he is, but it doesn't mean the type of rock he is a good type of rock.
What?
I don't
Guess it's one way.
Now you
Because-
guys just come up with stupid fucking metaphors. I don't even
It's
know what you're
just-
talking
I
about.
don't like
I don't
It's
know.
such Howard Ratner's a douchebag, but it's such a small stuff of him picking up the phone to his wife and be like, "Take the kids home, like get out of there, go to Amy's."
Oh, that was something.
I'm-
Oh yeah, actually,
He's-
you
it's
you
like
asked a question earlier.
I mean, he
if,
just didn't want him to die.
I know, but that's still a good
ca-
thing. That
if he
like
cared for his family, yeah.
if he didn't pick it up one bit, I'd be like, this guy's a straight douche. But he's still like, no, get the kids to Amy's, And then he even attacked the person, Phil. He's like, now you're targeting my family. And he pushed him to the locker. He's like, who do you think you are? Like, this is my family. I'm like,
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, he's like, that's messed up.
No,
don't
yeah,
come
like
in."
I said, he cares for them in a way. They're just not his priority. Like he
He's
did that because he's like, oh, this Phil, he's gonna kill someone. So fucking get out of there,
yeah, like
Like
he-
I don't
he's-
know. I don't think that to me that doesn't like yeah, that shows that he cares for them a little bit. That doesn't redeem him in any way in my eyes.
like
Because anyone with a family would fucking do that.
Again, very well.
I know he's like a douchebag to people, but he's a terrible addict, and I don't know. It's just like when he shows those hints, I'm just like, maybe there is like that's why personally for me I took it as not like he's a gem where like, oh, he's so good with like he knows what to do. More like, oh no, there's a reason his wife got with Howard. There's a reason they dated. There's a reason that they
Yeah.
actually loved
Yeah.
once. He actually is a good person. It's just that the game absorbed him. He just got absorbed into gambling. Like he can't take it. So his
Huh.
how he treats things is different. Like he was a good person, or you could go on the other side. Like no, he's not a gem. It's just I don't know.
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
This is very unfair, but this conversation has made me just realize that I love Breaking Bad more,
I was gonna say
That's
Breaking Bad.
still
and that's
unfair.
okay.
How
What?
dare
If
you?
it's
I
not-
agree it is unfair, but okay.
I'm just all I'm saying is just that Breaking Bad's a better version of Uncut Gems to
Okay.
me.
Yeah,
don't
but
know if-
also
I don't know if they're similar
Breaking
enough to
Bad
make that-
is the single
I think they're very
most,
similar.
or is the single
I don't
best
think that's
piece of
what it is.
drama in our lives, like created in our lives.
What is?
That's what I heard. I
No,
heard
Well,
that
Breaking
Breaking Bad
that's
is like.
can't.
that's
I
Avatar.
heard.
That's
That's what I
Avatar.
was. That's what I was.
Huh.
I don't know about that one, Chief. But
And
listen,
Breaking Bad's
Avatar
definitely
is
one of the
great,
greatest
but it's
of all
not a
time.
drama.
It's a
Says
lot
you.
of.
Now I feel like we can't compare the Avatar Breaking Bad.
Anyway,
Let's not
we're
compare
not-
Avatar to
we're
Breaking
not
Bad.
doing
Both
that.
are
I think we're done
phenomenal.
talking about Uncut Gems.
hear me,
Yeah.
Aang. I am
I
the
think
one.
comparing's very
Yeah,
bad.
my cat's going off.
I am the one that knocks. Aang's like, who are you? I am the.
yeah, exactly. No, I don't know.
I think
But
we're
yeah,
like out.
final thoughts on the movie.
Pretty sure we're out of thoughts.
Anyone?
9.2 out of 10.
I'm not gonna. We're not doing a rating system in this.
Okay.
We're not gonna do it. I
You want
really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the
I'm
movie.
Not doing.
I'm
a
with
rating
you,
system.
Nathaniel. I
like it a-
also enjoyed the movie a lot.
I
a lot.
enjoyed
But
the movie.
I can see how rough it is, and I
Yeah.
can see how it's not appealing in and of
Tons.
itself. I think you have to have certain investments, like in character, or like take it a certain. Not that you like took it a wrong way, but just I could see how someone could watch the movie and be like, I don't know, it didn't sit with me well. I didn't like it. I could understand that perspective. I just think that because it's so different, um, in its presentation and the character and the story is just so like weird and not like a typical movie that would come out. I really respect it for that reason, and also I liked it. Like on
You
top
could
of it,
say
I enjoyed it.
the movie seems uncut, but in reality,
I hate
it's
Okay, we're all right. Now we're taking it too
Okay.
far.
and
So
the puns.
okay. So
Adam
yeah.
Sandler, when he plays comedy, is uncut, but when he plays drama,
Shut
he's a
up.
gem.
He
Okay.
did-
No,
Shut
Danger
up.
Zone.
Okay, let's just talk about.
Danger Zone.
He did real good.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, we didn't really talk about this.
Oh,
The
no.
Sandman had a great performance.
he did
in
good.
this
Yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah,
for
no, he did
somebody
well.
who's done comedy only for like the last 10 years, he did phenomenal.
This
Well,
is why people were
not
talking
only,
about him.
but
Yep.
The
Yeah.
crying part didn't get me that much. I was like, I don't really feel anything but he killed it. I like.
Nah, he definitely killed it.
oh yeah, no, I can agree that the acting, like I said, acting was good. It was well shot. I just didn't enjoy it that much. So like my first way through, yeah, it was an interesting movie. I enjoyed watching it, you know what I mean, but I didn't really enjoy the movie that much. So like I'm glad I watched this one time. To be honest, I probably won't watch it again.
Hmm.
I might
Yeah.
watch it like sometime like down the road just to
Down
revisit
the road,
it,
yeah.
but like I don't want to watch it again.
That's
know?
understandable. I
Understandable.
understand that.
Yeah. And then
Well-
Jose, your final thoughts?
I'm never gonna watch the movie again.
I probably
Alright.
won't either.
I might
feel
watch
that way.
the director's other movies, but I'm never gonna watch it.
Well, Jose's gonna go watch Breaking Bad again.
That's
now,
understandable.
Yeah.
so-
All right,
Well,
so
years
that's
ago.
it.
We'll
Have-
see y'all next for Mulan vs. Scar.
Oh my gosh, wait, should I roll for the movie right now?
Oh, yeah,
I think
Should I
that's
do
the
that?
movie.
Go ahead.
Guys,
Okay.
welcome to our new segment,
Yeah,
The
well-
Roll.
I forgot about this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally.
so start a conversation because I gotta fucking set this up.
Okay,
Guys, welcome to The Roll.
so Nathaniel, hit me with that Scar versus Mulan thing again. Tell me.
No,
Oh.
please don't. Okay, so
There,
this is not gonna take me that long.
About it.
Mulan versus Scar would be an epic fight. It would be a whatever.
Nathaniel, I don't even
Dude,
have
you're
words for
not
how
even good
dumb
enough.
you
You've
are.
really got to
We-
sell it, dude.
we
You
will
really
never
got to sell it.
discuss
Come on.
The
With
Disney
necessities is
cinematic.
the original Hakuna Matata.
Okay. I have
Keep rolling.
one. So we need to vote right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Moonrise Kingdom is what
Yes.
I rolled.
What the
Yes.
fuck is that movie?
I've never heard of it.
It's a good movie. It's a good.
Okay,
movie.
wait. Hang on. Hang on.
Moonrise. You said Kingdom?
Alright, so Steven's the
Yes.
one who's in right now.
It's a Wes Anderson movie. And
Yeah,
it's,
it's good.
Okay, yeah,
It's-
I'm voting.
I
Yes.
love it so much.
Dang it, that's three of them.
I don't know if I want to.
Curses. This looks
Oh.
really weird.
Is
I
that
don't
three
like
or
the
is that?
colors-
I think that's two because Jose and Steven said yes.
And Nathaniel.
No, I'm neutral. I don't know.
Nathaniel did not say yes.
Okay, what about you two, Michael?
Can we like end the podcast?
I don't
Wait,
even
hold on,
know
hold
what
on.
this
Can we
is.
can we talk about?
We
question,
said this
is
was the
a
segment
comedy?
that you wanted to do.
Dang it.
Is this a comedy?
Doesn't look like
no,
it.
I'm
not
joking.
It's
Comedy,
a
drama,
it's
romance.
romance,
Yeah,
comedy,
which
drama.
is all
Oh,
those. Yeah.
Okay, so can we go through this? Okay, wait, no, we did watch Tarzan.
It's really
but, like,
pretty.
first movie we started off with, Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Second movie, what was the second movie we watched?
Slumdog
Slumdog
Millionaire.
Millionaire?
Slumdog.
Millionaire.
Third was Tarzan, which is
Yeah.
I guess kind of a kids movie, but it had a lot of.
It is a
mature themes.
kids movie.
Fourth, Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Dog, are these not all heavy movies? Like even
Moonrise
Tarzan
Kingdom is
had
not a
some-
heavy
some
movie.
crazy stuff. That's what I was asking. Is
It's
it
like
like
Tarzan's a
it's
heavy
light
movie?
in tone.
Tarzan
It's
is not a
late.
heavy movie.
Okay, Moonrise.
Tarzan's a
what-
good time.
Moonrise.
Okay,
Kingdom.
so so join us next week when we watch Moonrise Kingdom, everybody.
Oh, can't we
Bro,
get?
I don't think I ever watched a Wes Anderson
Just
movie.
say good night, Brian.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.